Now the breath of God to a Hebrew is the life of the soul. When God formed man and formed him out of the dust, he breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and what? Man became a living soul. So really what they're saying with the nostril portion is that everything that is under the nose of the person that is offering it, everything that's under their nose, everything that gives them life, everything that they are, everything that they'll ever be, when they gave you the worthy portion, the nostril portion, they're saying you're not only going to get something to eat, but everything that I have is yours. Everything that I'll ever have is yours. I'm giving you all that I have because you deserve more than the double. You deserve all. I've got news for you tonight. The Bible says that when we're saved, we're not only made an heir, but we're made a joint heir with Jesus Christ. That means everything that he has is ours. All that he had, he could have kept to himself. But in his wisdom and love, he says, I'm going to give you the worthy portion. Everything I have, all my love, all my power, all my grace, all my goodness, the earth and the fullness thereof is the Lord's. But God says, I give it all to you. All of it. It moves her so much that when she excuses herself from the table, Eli is standing by the post of the house of God, and he hears her weeping. She is weeping because even though Elkanah has given his all, there's one thing that she wants that she feels like he can't give her: a son. And Eli hears her crying, and then he hears a vow. Lord, if you make my womb so it's not barren, and you give me a man-child, I'll give him back to you. You know what the desire that God has for each one of us? To give back to him what he gave to us. Can I tell you why Elkanah is so important? His name means God possessed. But Hannah was tortured, provoked, persecuted by the enemy until that day. What happened that day? I believe she looked at the love of her husband. And her husband that said, Hannah, whether we ever have a son or don't have a son, I give you my love and I give you all that I have. And she realized, here's a man that knows I can do nothing to give him the greatest desire in his heart. But he loves me anyway. He gives me everything. And you know what happened to Hannah in that vow? She followed the example of her godly husband. There at that altar, it's more than a vow and it's more than a prayer. Hannah became God-possessed. She said, Lord, no longer am I concerned about my wishes. If you give me this miracle, I promise you, Lord, I'll give the miracle back to you. Why should God give us more when we don't let him possess what he has already given to us? I find people everywhere. They breathe the air he gives them. They use the days that he gives them. They take advantage of the strength that he gives them. He provides for them in every need of life. but still no room for God to possess their life. Folks, I'm not that old, but you got to remember I've done this a while. When you get about 4 million miles under your belt, you learn a few things. I don't know how much longer I'll go. I don't know how much longer I'll have strength to preach the way I preach. We don't know. None of us knows. God could call me tonight. This could be my last message. But I'm going to close with this. I may not be the smartest preacher you'll ever hear. And I may not be the most talented preacher you'll ever hear. But I'm not saying this arrogantly, but I am saying it compassionately. You may have a lot of preachers as guests in your pulpit. They may be able to preach so far beyond me, and that's great. God bless them. I pray that you get every one of them. But one thing that I can do that nobody else can do more, and each one of us has this ability. They may be able to do other things better, but they can't love God any more than I love God.
Amen.
And they can. He's given us all the ability to love Him with our heart, soul, strength, and mind.
Amen.
When I walked down the aisle and shook my dad's hand, accepted the call of God in the ministry, I always told the Lord, I'll never preach. I'll never preach. I'd watch people lie on Dad and do the most horrible things.
Wow.
Backslidden people are mean people.
Yes, they are.
Hypocrites can be mean people. I'd watch him go and I'd hear people tell lies. Oh, that preacher's just out for money. I'd watch my dear mother. I never saw my mother in a winter coat. 7 kids, I never saw her wear a winter coat while we were growing up. You know why? They took their money. Made sure all the other members in the church didn't have a coat, had a coat. I didn't know what it was, Mike, but I know one thing. I told God, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to make all kinds of money, and I'm going to build Mom and Dad a nice little house to retire in. And the Lord touched my heart, and I announced the call to preach. And I told Dad, I said, well, my whole life plans have changed. And he said, son, I don't want that. I don't want no house. I know you talk about. I don't want any of those things. The only thing that matters to me is that you serve God.
Amen.
I know I'm in overtime, forgive me, but I'm feeling this tonight. God's doing something for somebody here tonight. He wants to help somebody tonight. You may look at what God has done for me, and